In the vast expanse of the South China Sea, surface skirmishes are the scenes everyone can see. Chinese Coast Guard ships ramming, water cannoning, and blocking Filipino vessels. These moments dominate the headlines. But the real battle for control is happening far below the waves in silence, and that is precisely where the Philippines is preparing to open its eyes, with a fleet of new AW159 Wildcat helicopters. In late 2025, Manila approved the procurement of 6 additional AW159s from Leonardo, worth roughly 42 billion Philippines peso, around 745 million USD. Once delivered, the Philippine Navy will operate 8 of these anti-submarine helicopters, a small number on paper, but a decisive leap in capability for a Navy that only a decade ago had no modern airborne ASW system at all. This deal may seem like a technical acquisition, but in reality, it marks the dawn of a new maritime awareness era for the Philippines, one that could reshape how Manila defends its sovereignty. For years, the armed forces of the Philippines struggled with a basic strategic handicap. It could hear the ocean, but it could not see through it. Radar coverage across the archipelago's western seaboard remains limited. Sonar data are fragmentary, and much of the detection effort relies on US or Japanese surveillance. Meanwhile, Chinese submarines, the quiet patient Type 039A Yuan class and the nuclear-powered Type 093s, have been operating in the South China Sea for years, far beyond what Manila can monitor. The AW159 changes that equation. Equipped with Thales compact flash-dipping sonar, the Wildcat can detect, track, and classify underwater contacts at distances of up to 20 to 25 kilometers. Its Selex Sea Spray 7000E ESA radar can identify small periscopes or fast attack craft across rough sea states. For the first time, the Philippine Navy can pair its frigates with an airborne sensor that dives beneath the surface, transforming passive detection into active pursuit. In other words, the Philippines is no longer sailing blind. The Navy's decision to expand the AW159 fleet was not just about availability, it was about compatibility. The Wildcat's compact footprint allows it to operate from the smaller flight decks of the Navy's Jose Rizal class and Miguel Malvar class frigates, vessels that would struggle to host heavier platforms like the American MH-60R Seahawk or the European NH-90. The helicopter's power-to-weight ratio is optimized for tropical maritime conditions, and its folding tail and rotors make it ideal for ships with limited hangar space. Each Wildcat is armed with Korean-made Blue Shark torpedoes and the Israeli Spike NLOS missile, enabling both anti-submarine and anti-surface operations. In practical terms, this means that a single Philippine frigate can detect, classify, and engage a submarine, all within its own task group, without relying on external support. When paired with BrahMos coastal missile batteries and upgraded shore-based radars, the AW159 becomes part of a layered defense system, one that integrates air, surface, and subsurface awareness into a unified maritime picture. The 2 existing AW159s, delivered in 2019, have already proven their worth during joint patrols with the United States and Japan. Their reliability, despite limited numbers, convinced Manila that expanding the fleet was not luxury, but necessity. 6 new units will fundamentally change how the Navy deploys. Each frigate or future corvette could embark its own AW159 detachment, maintaining continuous patrol cycles across the Palawan coast and Luzon Strait. This effectively extends the Navy's eyes hundreds of nautical miles into the contested zones. With 8 aircraft operating in rotation, the Navy gains constant airborne sonar coverage, a critical factor for early warning against submarine incursions illegal fishing fleets, or covert operations by foreign vessels. It also boosts humanitarian and counter-terrorism capabilities in Mindanao and Sulu, where maritime surveillance remains vital against smuggling and insurgent movements. 8 helicopters will not change the regional balance overnight, but they redefine how Manila perceives its waters. Awareness precedes deterrence. Deterrence precedes stability. Beyond hardware, the AW159 deal represents a geopolitical signal. By choosing Leonardo, a joint Italian-British defense powerhouse, Manila is broadening its security partnerships beyond Washington and Seoul. This diversification matters. In the Indo-Pacific, where alignment often equals vulnerability, having multiple technology sources ensures resilience. The Philippines has now linked its defense industry to Europe's industrial base, opening avenues for joint training, technology transfer, and maintenance cooperation. It also complements the Reciprocal Access Agreement recently ratified with Japan and the expanded defense cooperation talks with France. In effect, the AW159 sits at the intersection of European technology and Asian strategy, a convergence that strengthens the Philippines' credibility as a rising middle power in maritime security. Still, the program faces friction points. The 42 billion peso price tag requires congressional appropriation. Any budget delay could push deliveries past 2028. There are also concerns over Leonardo's after-sales support, as the first 2 units experienced delays in parts supply and training documentation. Sustainment is often where smaller militaries stumble. Buying the aircraft is easy. Keeping them flying is another story. Moreover, anti-submarine warfare demands people, not just machines. The Navy must train sonar operators, data analysts, and aircrew who can interpret underwater signatures accurately, a skill set that takes years to mature. If Manila pairs this acquisition with investments in local maintenance hubs, perhaps at Subic Bay or Cavite, the AW159 project could become a seed for a self-reliant defense posture, not just another imported platform. Modern maritime warfare is not about who fires first, but who sees first. The AW159 gives the Philippines the ability to see, to detect before being detected. In the opaque underwater battle space of the South China Sea, that sensory advantage is priceless. With these helicopters integrated into a wider network, BrahMos batteries on shore, upgraded radars on Palawan, and intelligence sharing with U.S. and Japanese allies, Manila will gradually build what strategists call a maritime awareness ring, a distributed system of sensors and shooters that turn every kilometer of sea into a monitored zone. Each new AW159 flight will contribute to that ring, sending the quiet but firm message, "We can see you now." And in a region where perception itself can deter aggression, visibility becomes a weapon. The AW159 program embodies more than a defense deal. It reflects a shift in how the Philippines perceives the ocean around it. For decades, the archipelago has been defined by land-centric priorities: insurgency, internal security, disaster relief. Now, as tensions rise offshore, Manila is learning to think like a maritime nation again. 8 Wildcats will not make the Philippines a naval superpower, but they will make every potential intruder think twice before crossing unseen. They will empower the Navy to act with confidence, grounded in information rather than guesswork. And they will signal that the Philippines is no longer content to drift. It is charting its own course beneath the waves. In the end, deterrence begins not with missiles, but with awareness. And for the first time, beneath the contested waters of the South China Sea, The Philippines has opened its eyes, and the darkness will never be the same again.